Good evening, all suited up and we're ready to take off with NTV tonight. Lined up. Tonight, after the counties, BBI reforms proponents look ahead.
We shall hold a consultative meeting on Tuesday, 9th March, involving members of Parliament
inside the elaborate plan to push bill through in Parliament.
We'll probably give about 2 weeks.
Also tonight, in Baringo, MCAs stick to their guns in wake of a court order on the county's BBI resolution.
Tutapeana ushahidi ya kwamba tulifuata sheria vile inavyotakikana.
Nandi becomes second county to shoot down bill. Plus,
we shall forthwith be barred from holding the public office as a member of county assembly.
3 years in jail and giving up public office. Double trouble for Karen MCA David Mberia, found guilty of corruption. And millions of Kenyans pushed into starvation as drought, COVID-19 and locusts bite. Drought Management Authority says it could get worse, at least in 7 counties.
NTV Tonight with Mark Masai.
It's takeoff time. Glad to be your captain. My co-pilot is Flora Atieno. And it's not every day that you see Mheshimiwa being brought to book and actually brought to book on corruption charges. Well, this is not the biggest Mheshimiwa, but probably this is a start. Karen MCA David Mberia has lost his seat in the Nairobi County Assembly after being found guilty of economic crimes related to soliciting a bribe of 1 million shillings from a private school. Mberia has also been sentenced to 3 years in jail or a fine amounting to hundreds of thousands of shillings. Rose Wangoi starts us off.
While convicting Karen MCA David Mberia, Anti-Corruption Chief Magistrate Thomas Nzioka said investigators had supplied the court with sufficient evidence to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that Mberia solicited and received the bribe. Mberia was found guilty of demanding a bribe of 1 million shillings from Samuel Maina Kiragu, one of the owners of Kiragu Waichachi Private School, to resolve a land dispute in Pumwani Ward in Kamkunji. Mberia had received a bribe of 200,000 shillings and the rest of the money was to be paid in installments. During his arrest in April 2019, detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission recovered several bundles of notes stashed in his pockets. He was sentenced to 3 years in jail or ordered to pay a fine of 700,000 shillings. Mberia will also no longer serve as a member of the Nairobi County Assembly. Mberia risks losing his seat if he serves a 3-year sentence according to the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and Article 193 subsection 2. Quote, a person is disqualified from being elected a member of a county assembly if the person is serving a sentence of imprisonment of at least 6 months.
We shall forthwith be barred from holding the public office as a member of county assembly in accordance with the law, and therefore a certified copy of his judgment as well as the sentence order shall forthwith be transmitted to the Speaker of Nairobi City County Assembly for his compliance and also for his own record.
2 others suspected to have been part of the scandal were let off the hook. The court ruled that the prosecution failed to prove that Jared Okode, the MCA of Mathare North Ward, and Abraham Mwangi, the MCA of Woodley Estate, were directly involved in the matter. Okode and Mwangi were accused of demanding 200,000 shillings in order to sway the outcome of the Nairobi County Assembly's inquiry in favor of the school owners. Rozongoi, NTV.
Over the last few weeks, parts of the country have experienced heavy rains. On the flip side, counties in the arid and semi-arid regions have remained dry. So dry that the National Drought Management Authority is putting 7 counties on a watch list due to the worsening drought conditions. Already more than 1.5 million Kenyans are staring at starvation as the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, climate change and desert locust invasion decrease the availability and quality of food in the country. Zainab Ismail reports.
The Global Hunger Report has classified Kenya as seriously hungry as the number of undernourished people increases to hit 23% of the population, with fewer people having access to adequate food supply. According to the report, at least 4.9% of Kenyan children under the age of 5 years are classified as wasted, while 31.5% are stunted, and 4.5% of children die before their 5th birthday due to undernourishment. The lesser the score, the lower the hunger levels are in the country, which means that with 23.7 points, Kenya's level of hunger score is above the global average of 18.2 and a cause for worry. This comes as the National Drought Management Authority puts 7 counties under alert as dry conditions in parts of the country persist. The counties include Baringo, Isiolo, Kilifi, Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir and Turkana. Meanwhile, Garissa, Lamu, Tana River, Samburu, West Pokot, Kitui, Laikipia and Nyeri have recorded a worsening trend. The declining trend is attributed to the poor rainfall performance observed during the October-November-December 2020 short rain season in the affected areas, and the NDMA warns that if the rains don't come soon, many more counties will be pushed into hunger. According to the NDMA, the month of January marked the onset of the dry season, which resulted to ASAL counties experiencing sunny, hot and dry weather conditions, but some counties have experienced heavy rains since January, sparing them the worst of the drought. The authority has now recommended food assistance and scaling up of cash transfers, targeting the food insecure households. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
As many households ask, where is the food? Let's see what our leaders are up to. President Uhuru Kenyatta, ODM leader Raila Odinga and 5 other party leaders have hailed members of County Assembly for approving the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 while appealing to Kenyans to adopt reforms. ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi, Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, KANU's Gideon Moi, Charity Ngilu of NARC and Ford Kenya's Moses Wetangula held a joint meeting with President Kenyatta and Odinga at State House, Nairobi. The leaders say plans are underway to meet members of parliament next week ahead of the tabling of the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 in both houses before embarking on a public sensitization exercise. The leaders have reiterated the supposed benefits of the reforms, including ending the cycle of post-poll violence and empowering the counties.
Kenyan is heard, and to enable every one of us to exercise their civic duty, we will undertake civic education to sensitize the entire Kenyan nation on the opportunities that lie for our homeland and nation as part of this initiative. And to this end, we shall hold a consultative meeting on Tuesday, 9th March, involving members of parliament and the county leadership. As our country representatives have shown, now is a moment for all Kenyans to put aside partisan divides and come together to build a better Kenya for ourselves, our children, and for generations of Kenyans yet to be born.
And on cue, the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 will be introduced in both houses of parliament on Thursday next week. House leaders say the bill will first be published Friday and introduced concurrently in the 2 houses. Kennedy Mureithi reports that the House leaders also want the matter dispensed with in a month's time.
You need to guide us.
The BBI reforms train has now docked at Parliament.
The statistics of the submissions which had been formally delivered by the respective speakers of the county assemblies as at 2 p.m. today, 25th February 2021, are as follows. A. 33 county assemblies had delivered the draft bill with a certificate indicating their approval.
It is clear that the draft Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, promoted by the Building Bridges Initiative, has met the threshold required under Article 257, Clause 7 of the Constitution for introduction in Parliament.
And even though both houses will debate independently, the bill will be introduced simultaneously in both houses, according to House speakers.
We have also agreed that the draft bill will be forwarded for publication to the government printer tomorrow, 26 February 2021, in white paper as a bill for introduction in Parliament, so as to pave the to pave the way for its processing in Parliament.
Clerks of both houses of parliament have been directed to publish in the dailies counties that have approved or those that are awaiting approval. NTV understands the bill will be prioritized in both houses of parliament.
We also want as much debate as possible, all right, so that the truth of the bill will be anchored in and captured in the Hansard. And all the lies that people have told in funerals out there about the bill, we would like to see them doing the same or talking the issues they have on the floor of the House rather than outside. So we'll probably give about 2 weeks.
House business committees from the two houses will be sitting on Tuesday to flesh out modalities of introducing the bill in both houses. Another meeting of House leaders early next week has also been called to deliberate on how to handle the emotions.
And the certificates therein.
Sources tell NTV that the bill could be introduced in the House next Thursday and immediately committed to the Justice and Legal Affairs committees, which are also likely to hold joint public participation sessions.
I anticipate we should be starting that debate. We'll be making a decision on that debate by Tuesday next week when we meet for House business. We would at least be guided. This is the process. We'll allocate a time because it's between that and the budget. Those are the two critical things that we need to sort out.
All indications are that Parliament wants the matter dispensed with by end of March. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
So there's what we pass, but also I really...
Meanwhile, the Baringo County Assembly maintains that it has enough evidence to prove in court that all legal procedures were followed in shooting down the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. Majority of MCAs who shot down the bill insist the move that is now a live matter in court was a reflection of the will of the residents of Baringo. Vincent Odor is on that report.
A day after Kabarnet High Court temporarily suspended the resolution of Baringo County Assembly that rejected the BBI bill, the leadership of the House says they have sufficient evidence to win the case.
We must get justice.
KANU members of the Assembly filed the case arguing that the bill was not subjected to public participation before being subjected to a vote on the floor of the House.
Bado tuko na nafasi kama County Assembly ya Baringo kutetea uamuzi ya members wetu. Tutaenda kotini kupeana zile evidence ama ile kazi tulifanya na vile tulifikia hiyo uamuzi.
Baringo County Assembly became the first assembly in the country to shoot down the BBI bill, despite the county being the political backyard of KANU chairman Gideon Moi, who is not only the county senator, but also one of the biggest proponents of BBI.
Uamuzi ya Baringo itapaki vile tumeangusha hiyo BBI. Baringo ni no. Hatukuweza kufuata mtu wote. Hiyo ni msimamo ya wananchi wa Baringo. Na hata mkikuja kwa mambo ya referendum, wananchi wa Baringo wako tayari sana. Wako tayari sana kuangusha BBI.
The Assembly's decision has escalated political supremacy battles that have taken root in Rift Valley between Gideon Moi and Deputy President William Ruto. The BBI defeat in Baringo County Assembly has been read as a show of might in the region over Moi.
We are seen as the only county which did the most irrational thing. And I believe this is going to be a second chance to do the right thing. Take this bill to the people will give us their views.
Despite that, wearing a brave face today, Baringo Senator Gideon Moi delivered the speech at State House, flanked by, among others, President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, exuding confidence that they would push the BBI bill through the next stage, that is National Assembly and Senate. 41 county assemblies have so far approved the BBI bill. 4 are yet to decide, while Baringo and Nandi county assemblies have shot down the BBI bill. Vincent Odur, NTV.
And we'll be looking at how it has mapped out, that is the voting of the BBI bill in the county assemblies in a moment. But to something else that came before this vote, the Kenya Revenue Authority has affirmed intention to gain some revenue from the move to convert the car loan benefit to members of county assemblies into a transport facilitation benefit in the form of a car grant. In a letter to the Council of Governors, the KRA Commissioner of Domestic Taxes, Rispa Simiu, says, and I quote, MCAs and the speakers are employees of the respective county governments, hence any payments or benefits extended to them by the government is treated as income from employment or services rendered. The same is therefore subject to income tax. And Simiu then goes on to mention the section of the law that supports the imposition of tax on the car tax. Needless to say, the government's coffers are in dire straits, hence any additional income, whether from its own employees or not, is welcome. Let's get the look of things on the map, BBI I mean. Nandi County has become the second county assembly to shoot down the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. Now, 23 MCAs from Nandi voted against the Christian BBI bill, while 13 supported it. Baringo County's decision to vote against the BBI bill is in contention, but for purposes of keeping track of how it is mapping out, we will show it as a no vote, and that is one of the reds in this particular map. So from the 43 counties that have voted on the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020, it's a majority 41 that have given it the nod, and they are represented in green. The counties of Kilifi, Mandera, Uasin Gishu and Elgeyo Marakwet, these ones, they are yet to decide on the BBI bill. With 13 minutes past the hour, we take a break here on NTV Tonight. I'll be back with more, including when we can expect the first batch of the COVID vaccine in Kenya. Welcome back. Kenya is expected to receive its first batch of COVID-19 vaccines next week. Priority for vaccinations will be given to healthcare workers, frontline workers, including security personnel and teachers, vulnerable people and hospitality sector workers. Cabinet has today also sanctioned heightened surveillance at all major entry points to curb the spread of the virus. So let's now turn to the current COVID-19 situation. The numbers right there. 8 patients have succumbed to the virus today, raising the number of fatalities to 1,847. From the latest round of testing, 277 people tested positive for COVID-19 from a sample size of 4,599. The total number of infections in the country now stands at 105,057. So far, there are 86,497 recoveries from the disease after 119 patients were retested and found to be negative today. That's the latest. And spare a thought for those who have lost their loved ones. And say a prayer for the 336 patients who are currently admitted in hospitals and the 1,397 patients on home-based isolation and care. More African countries are building up protection against the dual risk of COVID-19 and the Ebola virus as the rollout of both vaccines continues across the continent. Ghana became the latest country to receive the AstraZeneca vaccine on Wednesday, while Côte d'Ivoire is scheduled to receive its consignment of vaccines on Friday, followed by 24 other countries in the region that have completed the pre-shipment requirements.
Thanks. And Richard can supplement what I'm going to say. Facility has developed a grouped process for this indemnity for the so-called advanced market countries, and as well has put together a fund to support countries to be able then to compensate people who have had severe effects from the vaccination, so that they are able to provide some support to patients and citizens in countries who have been affected.
Onto an entirely different thing and celebrating those who have gone ahead of us. Three-time winner of Jomo Kenyatta Prize for Literature, Henry Rufus Olekulet, has been eulogized as a gentle giant whose literary works transformed the lives of many. Kulet died on the 16th of February after a short illness. His writing journey began in 1971 when he published his first book titled Is It Possible? And as Ruth Sarmwe now tells us, his work is among current English set books in secondary schools.
Henry Olekulet may have passed on, but his memory is preserved in the 9 books he wrote, in which he dedicated at least 50 years of his life. His writing, that is a wealth of African culture, did not go unnoticed, as he was awarded the Jomo Kenyatta Prize for Literature for his 3 pieces, Blossoms of the Savannah, Vanishing Herds, and The Elephant Dance.
Get married to the man.
Blossoms of the Savannah went ahead to be selected a mandatory set book in high school, as it talks about the retrogressive FGM culture and early marriages, a practice that is still ongoing.
I call him our Achebe, our Kenyan Achebe. His books are just amazing, and particularly the book that we are reading as a class text, he's been able to capture the attention of the candidates because of the issues that he discusses that we can resonate with, we as Kenyans.
The book has really helped us as youths in terms of guiding us according to the family issues that we have at home. Shows us that no matter how hard the life is, we can still change it.
When we are determined to do something, we should also stick with it, and we should not let the tradition to stop us. And for the communities which continue practicing the traditions of FGM, early arranged marriages and the forced marriages, what I could ask for them is just to allow the girl child to have the position in the society just like the male have.
According to his family, Kulet drew inspiration from his culture and was seeking to transform the society from within.
What really was inspiring him to write about that, he wanted to give, there's a challenge between people living the Western world in towns and cities and people back in the village. He was trying to bring these two setups together. He was trying to say, let us forget and put away this bad aspect of life, of our culture, embrace the modernity.
Kulet was not motivated to write for money, so he published his work with funds drawn from his businesses. Upcoming writers are calling on the government to support them to publish African indigenous stories.
Budding writers have a lot of challenges. Unlike the time when Olekulet started writing, maybe in early 70s, we upcoming writers face challenges when it comes to publishing. Like my book, Goso Menengai Kreta, which so many people have hailed as a masterpiece, is yet to be recognized by local publishers. And yes, Amazon published it in February last year. It's high time local publishers recognize upcoming writers. We should not ignore. You cannot ignore something that you have not read.
In November 2020, Kulet was awarded Elder of the Burning Spear by President Uhuru Kenyatta. He leaves behind 2 wives and 15 children who say they will work to preserve and continue his legacy. Ruth Sarmwe, NTV.
May his soul rest in eternal peace, but his memory lives on through his work. To Baringo County now, where a man was brutally murdered in a bar after asking for his change. In retaliation, irate residents took matters into their own hands. They say the illicit liquor business is destroying the lives of many in the community and are blaming authorities for failing to act.
It's the morning after last night's deadly attack on a villager here in Kipsaraman, and the village is inconsolable. The late Kipkorir Cherongong had visited his local pub for a drink, and when he asked for his change, he was met with violence. The bar owner slashed him with a panga, leaving him for dead.
Tunilisikia uchungu sana. Brother wangu aliuliwa kinyama. Ndio kutokelezea hapo sikuwa kenye inaendelea tena.
Kupika tu kwa kona hivi, kenye tulitushutia ilikuwa ni ndugu yetu ambaye anaitwa Kiporo. tukaona damu imetapakaa kila mahali na kijana amelala chini. Amekatwa shingo mara mbili na mguu. Alikatwa kabisa. Sasa hapo mayo ikaanza sasa, watu wakaanza kulia, wakasema nini? Huyu mama ako wapi? Tukatafuta huyo mama. Kumbe huyo mama alikuwa ameepa. Alipita msituni akijipeleka kwa police station.
In protest, the residents then torched the bar and poured away what was left of the chang'aa. They claimed the bar owner, who surrendered to the police after the incident, had enjoyed the protection of security organs while selling illicit liquor.
Tunataka kuuliza serikali na anajua sisi kweli. Kama sisi tunapiga ripoti lakini achukua hatua yote tutafanya namna gani?
Our efforts to speak with the Baringo North Sub-County Police Commander about the incident were futile. Bridget's Ghana, NTV.
Bridget's report brings us to our next break, after which we'll be getting into the business, and part of it will be live from Mombasa with Dan Mwangi. Stay with us. Welcome to the business. The Cabinet has approved the 2021 Budget Policy Statement for transmission to Parliament, endorsing the proposed 3.01 trillion shillings expenditure for the next financial year, which will be an increase of 3.8% from the expenditure of the current financial year. Other documents approved by the Cabinet for transmission to Parliament include the Division of Revenue Bill 2021, the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2021, and the Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy 2021. President Uhuru Kenyatta chaired the Cabinet meeting this afternoon where these approvals were made, and we will be unpacking more detail regarding these documents in our continued coverage ahead of the June 2021 budget. To what's current, barely a week after the management of listed medical gas manufacturer Bulk Gases Kenya began circulation of takeover documents to shareholders, it has emerged that an independent valuation of the company revealed an undervaluation of as much as 44% in the takeover offer by Carbacid and Axaya Investments. Julian Samboko has that report.
6 days ago, on the 19th of February 2021, the management of listed medical gas manufacturer BOC Gas Kenya indicated it had finally begun circulating the takeover offer documents to shareholders about 23 days later than earlier expected, with the exercise having been deferred twice in the past. Documents seen by NTV reveal divergence of opinion regarding the valuation of BOC Gas Kenya could be the underlying factor presenting headwinds to the takeover of the company following the November 25, 2020 bid placed by Carbacid and Axaya Investments. In its report dated January 25, 2021, Dyer & Blair Investment Bank, in its capacity as an independent valuer in the transaction, places the valuation of each share of BOC Gas Kenya at 91 shillings and 76 cents, a far cry from the 63 shillings and 50 cents offered by Carbacid and Axaya Investments. Dyer & Blair concludes its independent valuation report by stating that, and I quote, "The fair value obtained is a weighted average of 6 methodologies outlined in the opinion. The fair value is 91 shillings and 76 cents, which is 44.5% higher than the offer price. The offer price is not considered to be fair and reasonable to shareholders." End of quote. The takeover bid is now complicated by the fact that Carbacid and Axaya had already secured an irrevocable undertaking by BOC Holdings, the largest shareholder in BOC Kenya, owning 65.38%, to accept the offer and sell the shares at 63 shillings and 50 cents. It is further complicated by the fact that the board of BOC Kenya has declined to recommend the offer to shareholders. Shareholders of BOC Kenya now have until the 6th of April 2021 to determine whether to accept the offer of 63 shillings and 50 cents from Carbacid and Axaya. The deal is expected to be consummated by the 31st of July 2021. Julian Amboko, NTV.
I'm sure Julian Zamboko and team will be following up on this development. To the coast now, the COVID-19 pandemic has thrust the world into a whole new level of reliance and exploitation of the digital space. However, this being a new dynamic, Many are still learning on the go, as well as learning from shared experiences. To make this a more tangible reality and help you know how to plug into the future through the window that is the digital world, the Nation Media Group is hosting a first-of-its-kind forum for the region in Mombasa. The Nation Africa Digital Summit, and NTV's Digital and Innovation Editor Dan Mwangi is in County 001 for that, and now joins us with a brief on what to expect tomorrow. Dan?
Thank you very much, Mark. Bwana Masai, huku mandhari yanavutia, na kutoka masaa hii Bwana Masai hadi asubuhi kama masaa 10 hivi, masaa 10 kutoka saa hii tutakuwa tunaanza kongamano hili la Nation Digital Summit, the Nation Africa Digital Summit, which is happening here in County 001. And like you've said, there's a lot to be learned from this forum, a lot to learn, a lot to pick up from here, a lot of experiences to learn from. And I'll just quickly highlight some of the things, some of the aspects we're going to be looking into tomorrow in regards to the different presentations, as well as the panel presentation discussions. We shall be looking at what it takes to make it in this digital and innovation space in a sustainable way, because you can have something being done at one go, but how do you make it sustainable? Besides that, we'll also be looking, this also entails what the wins are for the digital space in Africa. How can Africa then now compete in a more competitive way, being on what we could call an equal landscape with other parts of the world, the developed world. We'll also be looking at how to navigate the current business challenges from a digital perspective, and how to also build a brand in such a fragmented space, because by virtue of digital space being open to everyone, it means there's so many facets, so many dynamics. Is it going to be the same for everyone, every business? So we'll have these kind of discussions tomorrow, and also just looking at how to tell the truths from the fakes in terms of the excuse me, in terms of the information we get online, the truths and the fakes. So telling the truth from the fakes, some of these conversations are what are going to be had here, just to give more insight on the same. And we'll also be seeing how one can lead in a digital economy, because there's a call for a change even of culture and perspective, because you can have all these digital tools, but if you don't have a change in culture, for instance, it may not amount to much. So there needs to be, excuse me, Nijoto ya Mombasa. There may need to be some kind of merger between the two, not only just look at the tools, but also look at the culture change. And so we shall be having this, and it's open to those of us who are interested. So in case you're watching and would like to be part of the Nation Africa Digital Summit, you could send an email to snkamau@tag.nation. snkamau@tag.africa, I beg your pardon, snkamau@tag.africa, and you shall get the details of how you can be part of this. And we shall be streaming on our social media platforms, that's NTV social media platforms, and also our sister platforms across the board. So Mark, that's an idea of the great depths we're going to be getting into tomorrow, just to get a clear picture of what exactly the digital space is all about, because they say the digital is the future. So tomorrow we'll be looking into the future. We might end up seeing the Jetsons there, if you know what I mean. Back to you, Mark.
Catch you online, Dan Mwangi. That's tomorrow, and you know where to catch. So let's turn to something to expect tomorrow as well, and that's in the Business Daily. Millionaire investors in Safaricom crossed 10,000. There's also mentioned there of the COVID-19 vaccines expected next week in Kenya, with the first batch of 1.2 million vaccines that are rolling out from Monday, at least from next week, the first week of March, and where Kenya's super rich are acquiring new homes. You want to know that? Get your copy of the Business Daily tomorrow. And that's it from the business desk. Welcome back. Kenya continues to make small but significant steps when it comes to matters out of this world. The Kenya Space Agency today held a high-level space summit that saw stakeholders and top scientists from across the country come together to help deliberate on the way forward when it comes to the country's space sector. The Kenya Space Agency was created in 2017 following a presidential order. Since then, the main focus has been establishing the requisite policy and institutional framework that can help develop the Kenyan space industry.
Way forward at the moment is to make sure that in future, this country, in the field of security and national development, is using quality data in order to make effective and efficient decisions in areas, in all areas of government, in agriculture, in mining, social affairs, monitoring our environment, because climate change is also a very serious threat to security at the moment, and everybody is concerned about it. And you can only monitor it from space.
This is the next frontier for development. It is the next frontier for defense. It is the next frontier for humanity's development.
Italy has held a state funeral today for its ambassador to the Democratic Republic of Congo, Luca Attanasio, and police officer Vittorio Lacovacci, who were shot dead after being kidnapped. The two were shot while traveling in a United Nations World Food Programme convoy on their way to visit a school feeding project. They'd been stopped on the road north of Goma by 6 armed men who killed the driver on the spot. Congo's Interior Ministry has blamed the Rwandan ethnic Hutu rebel militia for the attack. Italian police investigators have flown into Congo to liaise with police to intensify investigations. The funeral was attended by several leaders as the former ambassador was given a last military salute. It's now time to turn to the sports desk, and Ida Waringa is standing by.
Very good evening to you. It's about that time for the latest happening in the world of sport. And Team Kenya, that was to do duty at the Africa Cross Country Championships, will regroup after the much-anticipated tournament slated for March 6th and 7th in Lome, Togo, was postponed indefinitely due to effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Confederation of African Athletics said that the announcement was made following a request by the Togolese authorities, who raised sanitary measures to contain the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Togo has so far officially registered slightly over 6,500 coronavirus cases and slightly over 80 deaths. The event had already been postponed in March 2020 due to presidential elections in the West African nation, then cancelled altogether due to the pandemic. Athletics Kenya had picked 42 athletes through tough national trials, with camp starting February 17th in Embu. And 4 Kenyan table tennis players who have been picked from the national rankings will seek to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics at the World Singles Qualification Tournament that will be in Doha, Qatar from the 14th to the 17th of March. Top player Brian Mutua, Josiah Wandera, Doreen Juma and Lydia Setei have been in training for just 1 month because of COVID-19 restrictions. The players have been out for 1 year training on their own before resuming group training. That was in January. They have been on 2 sessions of 2 hours a day under coach Anthony Mathenge. The number of slots for Tokyo qualification will be determined the day before the draw on 13th March, depending on the maximum available quota. Great, and the late Kenyan football legend Joe Kidenge could have a road named after him in as little as 3 months. This is after the Nairobi County Assembly approved a motion to have Kapiti Crescent Road, that is in South B Ward, renamed after Kidenge, who is regarded as generally one of the finest players to ever grace Kenya's football scene. The motion, which was made by Deputy Majority Whip and South B MCA Waithera Chege, will now see the Assembly's implementation committee communicate the approval to the county executive. Consequently, City Hall will within 3 months rename the road to Joe Kidenge Crescent Road or reject the proposal. Kidenge passed away in July 2019. That was at Meridian Hospital in Nairobi, aged 84, after a long battle with effects of stroke.